Hello, I'm Lana Penchmere and I'm the current course leader for digital media design on the Lewis campus of East Sussex College Group. And before we get started, that is not a gun behind me. Well, it kind of is a gun behind me. It's a wooden replica that my father-in-law made and everything. It distracts a lot of people, so we'll just get that done before we even start. So I've been asked to do a kind of intro to the course and talk about what we do and what we cover. So I've put together a quick PowerPoint and I just wanted to take you through it. So if you just bear with me for a second, I'm just going to present my entire screen and I will take you through the course. So as I said, my name is Lana Penchmere. I'm the current course leader for digital media design at the Lewis campus for East Sussex College Group. And I oversee the running of the 2-year FDA and the 1-year BA top-up year. And that means I design it, I teach on it, and I assess it, and I do quite a lot of bits and bobs. So, as I said, it's a 2-year FDA, so that's what you sign up for. And then if you wish to, you can either drop out there and then and say, that's it for me, I'm done. But what most people do is that they top that one up to a BA, which means you just have to do your 3rd year, just like you would any other degree. And you're all done, and it's accredited by the University of Brighton, and you get graduation, you get the same pomp, circumstance, and everything that everyone else does. So, what makes us different and what's our focus for the course and everything? So speaking as the course leader, my absolute and utter focus for all of my students is to enable you to compete with these guys. So coming to university and doing what you do and kind of things, it's an opportunity for you to discover what you're interested in, to kind of learn more about particular industries, to hone your skills, to kind of really build your portfolio. There's a lot of reasons why people go to university, but generally speaking, it's to get the best job that they possibly can, to make the best work that they can possibly make, to get the, to really excel their career. And in order to do that, you have to be able to compete. So my focus is all about pushing out students who are both professional and competitive, so that they are competitive and they can compete with their work. That means that I'm quite demanding. I have very high standards, as do the rest of the colleagues that I work with. We're very, very supportive. We are really, 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 really care about our individual students, and we really care about what is best for each person and identifying the best job for that person. Because we do digital media and design, you can work in any one of those industries, or you can work in all 3 and be a multi kind of disciplinary designer or a creative director, which kind of like covers everything. We don't mind what you want to come out with at the end, but what we do really, really care about and focus on is that you give yourself the best opportunity and best chance in that field. So how we do that is we really like to focus on each of our students' individual talents. So they are the ones that you haven't actually found yet, or they're the ones that you already come in with. So you might come in as an illustrator, you might come in as a graphic designer, you might come in as a product designer, you might come in as someone very much into UX or UI, so that's user experience or user interface. We then kind of give you like different kind of introductions to different things and show you kind of like different ideas of how things go about. We might introduce you to motion graphics, we might introduce you to animation, we might introduce you to something like blended campaign outcomes and things, loads of different things. And to do that, by the end of it, what we really focused on is we want you to produce your best work. But to do that, you need to meet the learning outcomes. So when we are being a little bit more narrow and we're asking you to kind of produce something very specific, it's because the learning outcome has to be met in order for you to get not only pass the course, but get a great grade. So we work with you to identify what it is that you're going to produce at the end, why you're going to produce that at the end, and how you're going to produce that. And to make sure that that how and that why reflects the outcomes with a pass, merit or distinction in the first 2 years, or a third, a 2-2, a 2-1, a 2 and a first in the 3rd year. So year 1 is all about fundamentals. So Year one is a bit like just like you would do if you decided to do art, you would do an art foundation. And so the idea of an art foundation is to introduce you to the different facets of that particular sphere or that industry. So in the first year, what we like to do is we like to introduce you to interactive design, design for the web. We have to do the theory. So we have to do critical and cultural studies in relation to the subject. And to do that, you have to write a little essay. But what I tend to do is I get you to do a booklet. So you do, what is this here? You do a visualized interpretation of the theory that I give you. You then also have to do design for print, design for interactive, or design for kind of like online. And there's loads of little bits. So they're tiny little discrete projects. And in the first year, you get 6 of those. And you're also introduced to animation as well in the first year. In the second year, it's because some people do decide to leave after the second year. We make sure that if you decide to leave, which we hope you won't, we hope you will stay with us. It's all about being a good employee, if that makes sense. It's all about making sure that if you decide to freelance or you decide to take on working directly for an industry, for a company or something, you actually understand what is being asked of you in a brief. So we give you a couple of briefs that we write ourselves, one of which is a Rex brief. So we work with a local employer, and that local employer and us, we put together what a standard brief would look like, basically, and what they would be asking for. It's a bit vague. All briefs generally in that industry are a bit vague. We then ask you to do something called a YCN brief, which is a Youth Creative Network brief, which is a massive national competition. We then give you a little bit more introduction to some more fundamentals of kind of like doing campaigns and blended outcomes. And then there has to be an essay again. And then we also ask you to do some motion graphic kind of stuff. So for example, these ones here, these were all responses to YCN briefs. So all the students had the same YCN brief opportunity. They all picked a different brief, and they all picked a different interpretation of that brief. For example, this guy here decided to do some illustration, and this person here did an entire 3D rendering of a space for HMV, actually, for this one. These two had very similar kind of interpretations of the brief to do with illustration. One decided to go much more stationary-led, one decided to go more poster-led, and this one actually wanted to do murals inside a particular office space for someone. This one is, again, these are these year's ones, different interpretations. So we have packaging, which was something, we had an app which kind of came through, and when somebody else did an animation for a particular client, which we've currently got. So in the third year, for those people who I'd say probably 85 to 90% of people do progress straight onwards, it's all about enabling you to not need us anymore, enabling you to not need an employer, but want one. So that if it came to it that you could not find work, you wouldn't be floundering and you wouldn't be lost, because quite often in our industry in creative, there are lulls between contracts, or sometimes people have to downsize, or you just decide to go off and do your own thing. And it's very, very normal, and it's very common practice in our industry. So with the third year, it's completely about ensuring that you are enough on your own in that industry. And I think that's the best way I can really encapsulate what we really focus on doing in that third year. So to give you some examples of some third year kind of work, you still have to do an essay, which is a 5,000 word dissertation, same as any university, but there are some changes in the way that we do that. So it's not always necessarily an essay. You have to do some collaborative work with your peers, and you have to create a treatment for the end of year show. You then really at that point, it's all writing your own briefs. There is a DMD brief, which is similar to the YCN. And then there's a final major project, which is your big, this is what I do. So this is a picture of a guy called Alex standing in front of his final major project for the end of the year and what he did. And we'll get to Alex, that's no problem. So I've put together a couple of examples of the third years from not this year, but the year before, and what they did. So for the third year, some of the students decide to, in their FMP, show their passion. So this is an example from a guy called Sean, and Sean was really, really, really passionate about sustainability. And so he created his own clothing line. He created his own branding. He created his own kind of like, he tried different printing methods and mechanisms and looked at different aesthetics and what did and didn't work. And really interestingly, because he was into sustainability, those bags are actually cornstarch bags. And he researched into how to get those printed and how to deliver his products in the most eco-friendly kind of way that you could do. So he looked into the glue and the gum of different things. And what came out of that was actually he launched his own brand and clothing label. So very passionate from Sean about that one in particular. So someone like Taylor, this is Taylor's work, he was all about finding his aesthetic for his third year. He wanted to kind of go into an agency and go, this is Taylor Osborne work. This is what my work looks like. This is my palette. This is the kind of typefaces I use. This is the general message I want to give. But at the same time, he wanted to also illustrate that he was on brand. He was definitely on the pulse of exactly what was in fashion from a design point of view, because design comes in waves constantly. He made some videos. He made lots of digital, like print for digital and things. But he was really design for digital. He was definitely a designer for print a little bit more. The bottom corner is actually a skateboard that he designed to go with his Aware clothing brand, which was also clothing. Which he focused on his final major project, creating a skatewear company from reclaimed wood to make the actual skateboards out of, which is where he got his idea from. So someone like Alex, who you saw in the first picture, his FMP was all about diversity. His FMP was all about showing how capable he was and how diverse his outcomes could be. So again, there was a big focus last year with the third years about sustainability and eco and reflecting these kind of really important key messages in their branding and their designs, and changing the actual brand pillars of a brand was the focus of particularly Alex. And so Alex kind of had a real focus on typography. He has a real skill for typography, and that is something that you can see if you follow him now. You could go and look at his Behance, which is Alex Farquhar. You could look at his Instagram, which is very, very prolific on, which is again Alex Farquhar. The person we showed you before, this is Taylor Osborne, and the one before is Sean, but Sean doesn't have as much going on. So Alex was all about wanting to walk into an interview with a portfolio which had as much work in it as possible to show that he was somebody that they wanted to have on board, and that they could give him anything and he could do a good job of it. And it would be high quality, it would be beautiful, and it would be he was very process driven. So if you open the files of Alex, and you'd know full well that there was a very nice order to the way he worked. And then Brad he wanted to make connections in his final major project. So he contacted a local band and he redesigned their entire look and feel. And so what came out of that redesign of their entire look and feel came their back catalogue, redesigning that, what it looked like, the approach to kind of like what their sound and how it reflected. It was visualising their sound, basically, is what he did. So when he took that to an employer, he would show what a process book and videos of how he kind of like made these things, and very much took the client along with him in the way that the work was produced, because working with a band, for example, they're very invested with what their work looks like. So Brad took it from a whole different direction. The other thing you can do with your final major project is you can explore your interests. So these three, which is Rob Hansel and Laura Tempesta, and the one with Princess Peach is Hattie or Harriet O'Callaghan. They just wanted to really explore the distances of their skills and what their loves were, and they wanted to do that in a really highly aesthetic way and kind of introduce other people to their interests. So Harriet did that with illustration, Rob did that with experimenting with Japanese calligraphy pens, and Laura, for this particular piece, which was not a final, it was a different one, did tactile posters for the museum so that blind people could touch on those particular posters, because she herself has a hearing impairment. So she really, really wanted to convey how important it is for inclusivity into public spaces. So Generally speaking, first year is about your fundamentals and making sure that you can go on and just do anything. You can definitely artwork. The second year is all about making sure that a client can trust you with their brief and trust you to understand what's going on. The third year is all about making you fully independent and making you driven and making sure that you can make it without us and make it without your employer, basically, is the real focus there. And we do that with workshops, we do that with one-to-ones, we do that with lectures, and we do that with anything that you kind of request, really. We don't proclaim to teach every single software. We don't say that we will teach you every single skill, because to do that would be a waste. We are very reactive to what it is that you want to do. So if you turn around and say that you have to screen print, we'll teach you how to screen print. If you say that you really would like to learn how to do darkroom photography, we'll sort that out for you. If you want to learn how to do your own product shots, we will sort that out for you. If you wanted to do some free 3D rendering, we would look into how the best way to teach you that is, and which software that you wanted to do it in, and then what the best way to show your client the finished product would be without having to have them have the software as well, that sort of thing. And we can do 3D printing and there's a number of other things, vinyl cutting, all bits and bobs. What we really are keen on is each year we go to a conference called OFF, which is in Barcelona. So the one on the left is OFF and the one on the right is an old conference which used to happen called Reasons to Be Creative. And we're looking for a replacement for that at the moment because it no longer exists. But OFF is something we go to each year and it's fantastic. We have a really good time. Even I have a good time at OFF. So that bigger picture is actually 6 of our students in that picture. We encourage you to go to each lecture. We encourage you to kind of really focus on what the area is that you study in. So usually the first years go to OFF and the third years go to OFF. And the first years go because they're learning what to focus on in their portfolio in their second year. And the third years go to network, to kind of like make contacts and hopefully try and secure themselves a job potentially in Spain or France or maybe America or something, or just at least make those contacts. So overall, that is digital media design, the BA. And if you're interested or you want to get to know more, you can get in touch at hellohe@escg.ac.uk, or you can follow us on Instagram, and we are esc_digi. I look forward to hearing from you soon, and take care. Cheers. Bye.